Hey, everybody. Saul Marquez with the Outcomes Rocket. I want to welcome you back to our podcast. Super thrilled that you've joined us today. I have the privilege of hosting the amazing Ernie Ianace. He is the founder and chief sales and marketing officer at VitalTech. He is just a dynamic leader with a strong talent for growing businesses. With over 30 years of experience, he's scaled startups, led large organizations, and has a strong track record of driving revenues in aggressive timeframes. With companies like Siemens, Efficient Networks, No Magic, and 3M. I'm excited to have him here on the podcast to talk to us a little bit more about what they're up to at VitalTech. So with that, Ernie, I want to welcome you to the podcast. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah, man. And so look, there's a lot we're going to cover about VitalTech, but before we do, tell us a little bit about you. What is it that drives you and your interest in healthcare?
I've done a bunch of different startups over my life and career, but about 8 years ago, had a family member, actually stepfather, who got really sick. And, there was very poor coordination of care. Family wasn't kept up to date. He was re-hospitalized 7 times. Turned out 6 of them were really unnecessary. I was like, gosh, this is so broken. Someone should fix it. And I had just exited another company. I sold it to the so. I said, I should maybe be that one. So got together with a couple of biomedical engineers, PhDs locally, and honestly founded this concept. And really trying to just change the way you take care of patients and deliver healthcare virtually.
I think the opportunity is big, right? We're very fractured in the way that we deliver care. Your family's experience, I've had family experiences, personal experiences with this. So talk to us about VitalTech. What are you guys doing and how are you adding value to the healthcare ecosystem?
Absolutely. So what we have is it's a comprehensive virtual care platform, and that encompasses a bunch of different things, right? So, primarily, or the very first most basic thing is to collect vitals remotely. And that could be from almost anything, from like a patch or an implantable or, just peripherals like blood pressure cuffs and weight scales and spirometers, to a wearable like an Apple Watch, and bring that back into a system for the clinicians to use to monitor trends, to look at alerts, things like that. But then there's a bunch more to it, right? Because delivering quality healthcare isn't just about knowing someone's, blood pressure or pulse. Asking them questions, delivering surveys, having a nutrition module in there, being able to do medication management, and some of the social determinants of health. All that's in the platform to really manage patient outcomes. And we see some staggering good outcomes with some of our biggest customers. And our customer base is kind of the biggest health systems out there and some very, very large physician groups. And, 50-50 about still the fee-for-service guys and 50% the value-based world. And then the big health systems, that's usually the same person because they're migrating, right? So it's really all about just better patient outcomes, better patient care, making it much easier on the clinical teams.
Chronic care management? Are you doing some hospital at home, a combination of both?
Yeah, because the platform is so holistic and flexible, we have just about every use case you can think of, from, unfortunately, pediatric hospice all the way to, chronic care management at the very elderly, to hospital at home. We have several big systems using us for that. And really extreme acuity sometimes, right? Like, I have one health system about to do a bone marrow transplant program with us, where we're delivering neurotoxicity screenings as part of the care. Another one is discharging, level 4 cardiac patients, cardiac drips, and end-stage oncology patients to us. And we do everything. So it's not just the technology. It's also we can help the care teams, work at the top of their license. We can offload some of the more basic clinical stuff to help extend kind of the nursing and the clinical teams, helping a little bit alleviate staff burnout and just staff shortage.
There's a technology, there's a service, and also built-in provider network that you guys offer. Is that right?
Yes.
Love it. No, appreciate it. Sounds like a really useful platform. And as you think about something that makes you guys different? What would you say is a key thing?
I think the biggest thing, you can have the best technology out there. If you can't get patients to use it, one, frequently, but also over the long term, if they're chronic, it's worthless. So when I set out to do this, thought about it, there were a lot of platforms that were kind of going from the hospital out that weren't really thinking too hard about the patient. And we're like, well, who are the hardest patients to serve? Who need this the most? And we thought, well, the elderly, right? That 90-year-old with multiple comorbidities, no tech savvy at all. If you can build something they'll use, then everybody else is easy. A 30-year-old that's good at tech, they're going to use it anyway. So we really thought and always think about that patient first. Can we make them not only use it, but give them enough value and enough ease of use that they continue to engage? We have extremely high patient engagement, some of that high 90s. And then the long-term usage is also in the mid-90s, patients staying on it for 12 months or longer. But we're always thinking about it. Will that 90-year-old like this feature, be able to use it, make it harder or easier? And that's what we really do. And the same thing on the clinical side. You can't make the clinician's job harder. You can't ask them to change their workflow. They're just right now overwhelmed, and you got to do things to make it easier for them and augment their workflow. So kind of thinking about both those sides, that's what differentiates us. And that's really why I think we win so often.
You got to be invisible, right? Like let them do their job, make it easier, and not have to be that additional dashboard or workflow that they have to deal with.
100% agree with you.
Yeah, I love that. Love that. And so as you guys have built out and built different use cases, you've shared a few already. Which has really seemed like the most promising and the one that you guys win with the most?
Gosh, that's a tough one because there's so many use cases. We tend to win the bigger deals, not the smaller one, because we have so much flexibility that usually the customer's picking us to implement a dozen use cases or more, or they have 8 or 9 digital platforms right now doing point solutions that they're trying to consolidate. But if I had to pick one, it would probably be a tie between nephrology or CKD and CHF. Those are probably the 2 biggest use cases for remote care right now. Those patients, one, they need the most, I think, and also they impact the health system probably the most with resources and dollars and things like that. So if you can take better care of those patients, get better outcomes in those 2 specifically, I think you really move the needle. And obviously diabetes and COPD are probably very close seconds.
Sounds like really the main strength that you guys have is the ability to aggregate and integrate existing structures, systems, and be able to deliver based off of what's there today. And then they gravitate toward nephrology and CHF.
That's a really good summary. And again, sometimes they pick us for diabetes and CHF. Sometimes they pick us for COPD and all the others. It's just the 2 big ones right now look like, and again, that's probably the 4 big ones. It's diabetes, CHF, COPD, and CKD. But those are probably the 4 biggest chronic diseases that truly, and a lot of patients have more than one of them, right? So it's always even more complicated. But those are the ones that are plaguing, our country right now. Just from how do we take care of them in the best way possible, get the best outcomes, make their lives better, and that's really, I think, where we spend a lot of focus. Again, the platform's flexible, so it can do pediatric hospice and it can do bone marrow transplants and lung transplants and things like that, which those are all use cases we deploy or hospital at home. But when you're trying to really move the needle and you get 5,000 diabetes patients or 1,000 CHF patients and really affect those outcomes, it changes a lot of lives and it really changes the health system's metrics quite a bit.
Every business that comes together, it's designing the minimally viable product, putting it out there, getting traction, having capital, right? There's a lot of peaks and valleys. What would you say has been maybe one of the biggest challenges for you guys that you've overcome and now you've become better because of it?
I think our biggest challenge was we started out at the beginning selling kits all the associated hardware you might need to manage that patient, and let the health system figure it out, and just sort of providing services of the tech. And what we learned is that doesn't work very well. All right, health systems shouldn't be in the equipment management and deployment business. That's not their specialty. That's not what they're good at. They don't want to do it. So it took us the first couple of years to figure that out. Now, since probably 2020, we've kind of now put it all in one package and say, okay, listen, we'll handle everything. You don't worry about it. You just worry about your patients and then worry about your clinical workflows. And let us figure all that other stuff out for you. Now, it needs to be custom for each health system because they all have their own ways to discharge patients, how they onboard patients and all that. But they don't want to worry about, gosh, how many blood pressure cuffs do I have again? And do I have to pair it with this tablet, or the patient have their own phone and they download the app? They don't want to worry about that. So we just handle it all. And that's allowed for much more rapid scaling in our company, but also our customers, because they all want to do this. Do they have the resources, and how do we get to more patients? It's our job in the industry to help them.
Providers didn't get into business to manage inventories and have to figure out how to make tech work. So I totally love that approach. It was a challenge to you guys at the beginning, but then you thought, hey, there's an opportunity here to really turn this thing around. I'll tell you, I talked to a lot of people on the podcast, and some of the most successful entrepreneurs take those brick walls like you and your team, and they find a way to come up with a solution for the market. And this is such a great example, Ernie. Thanks for sharing that. And folks, something to think about. You might be in that situation right now. You might be at that brick wall where you're dealing with your biggest problem. And if you think about it and turn it around on its head, it might be that biggest problem could be your greatest advantage. So definitely think about it like Ernie shared with us. It's a huge opportunity when you tackle it. As far as techs and trends, you're in the middle of sort of this growth area, right? Where hospitals are flocking to try to do more. As far as what you've seen, what's the latest tech or trend that's happening out there that you think is going to change healthcare as we know it?
It's kind of the elephant in the room, but everybody's talking about it, but it's really AI, right? But it's not just throwing AI at the market in general. There's so many people that are just trying to, we have an AI-based solution. That's not good enough, right? What's going to truly change healthcare is when you get applied AI in a really considered and smart way, right? Like, where can it enhance the system, or where does it really is it noise, right? Maybe it's helping routing a patient to the right clinician at the right time. Or maybe it's not even involving a nurse because the AI at the patient app or the patient side can help that patient in real time, alleviating some of the staffing crunch right now. Or, AI behind the scenes analyzing of all the treatments you've tried for this disease state, what worked best and why. Those type of solutions, I think, are truly going to revolutionize what we're doing over the next few years. Everybody's talking about it, but where you apply it and how, that it's going to really move the needle.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's got a lot of promise. It's really ubiquitous in sort of how it's being used and where. It's just being smart about it. And I think you've called out some really great points there, Ernie. Thanks so much. Look, this has been an incredible discussion. I really appreciate you having carved out the time to be with us today. If you had a call to action for the listeners as a parting word, what would it be?
It's all about the patient. Make it easier for them to, one, consume the healthcare service, but also to take care of themselves. Enable them to be better patients. I think if more of us in the industry, from the provider to the tech platform services, always thought about enabling the patient, it would just enrich everybody, right? Better outcomes, the patients would be happier, the health systems would have an easier time managing that population. It's starting to happen. I just hope it continues.
If somebody listening wants to get in touch with you, or something you said resonated with them, what's the best place?
They could follow me on LinkedIn and shoot me a message. I respond to all of them. Have several thousand followers, but I still try to answer. Or just, go to our website at VitalTech.com. And there's a little form they can fill out and like someone to talk.
I love it. Ernie, thank you for that. Folks, there you have it. Ernie Ianace for you. Just wanted to thank you for joining us, everybody. Thank you for joining us. And remember, in the show notes, you're going to find ways to get in touch with Ernie, VitalTech, and all the resources that we talked about on today's episode. Take action. Don't stop at listening. Ernie, I want to thank you for taking action and being with us today. Appreciate your time.
Thanks a lot. It's great being here.